Please welcome Franco Federico.
Can you hear me? Is that okay? First time hearing myself on the mic, so sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Franco Federico. When I was 23 years old, I wrote 3 words on a sticky note, and I stuck it to my wall. My oldest brother came in, and he looked at it, and he says to me, "Bro, that shit's not even proper English." I didn't care though, because those words meant something to me. It was me putting my actions into words. Are you curious what those 3 words are? Are you curious?
Yeah!
Are you curious? Yeah, okay, cool. It was be a doer. Very simple. Be a doer. Being a doer was like the key to my life. Why? Because if I didn't experience it, I didn't come to understand it. I learned that the key to true wisdom is through the act of doing. But I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always a doer. Growing up as a young boy, I lived in a state of great anxiety. Being the youngest boy of 3 in an Italian household, mind you, puts a lot of pressure on a person. My parents loved us and supported us and wanted us to do everything we wanted. My 2 older brothers were my biggest mentors in life. I wanted to be like them, but they wanted me to be better than them. But for me, it was difficult because I have a learning disability and ADD, like I'm pretty sure most of you are. In grade 1, I was told that if I wasn't put in ESL, I would have been held back a grade. And in grade 5, we were told that we needed to read a paragraph in front of the class. So me being me, I figured out which paragraph I needed to read. Practiced. It was my turn. I got in front of the class, ready, confident. Within 3 words, my teacher stops me and says, "Franco, you're reading the wrong one." My stomach sunk. I turned the page and I could hear the giggles in the room from my classmates. I started reading, and within the first sentence, I started stumbling my words because of my dyslexia. With every giggle, I started stumbling more and more. I could hear the clock ticking. Tick, tick, tick. I got so annoyed, I was holding back my tears. I ran myself back to my seat, humiliated and embarrassed. These situations made me feel small, stupid, and weak. It made me not want to challenge myself because of the fear of failure. And humiliating myself again. I became complacent with education in school because of my experiences. After barely graduating high school, I continued doing jobs that involved doing things with my hands, and eventually my personality. My first job as a teenager was working with my dad at the plywood mill he worked at. How many of you worked with your parents before? Right. Working with my dad, I learned 3 things mostly. 1, hard work pays off. 2, don't complain. And 3, if you're gonna complain, go find something else to do. Right? So at 19, I wanted to be a server. But I couldn't because I wasn't able to romance the menu properly. So, being a doer, I did whatever I had to become a server. And after 3 months of being a server, I was told or asked to be a manager because of my hard work and leadership. This was the first time me being a doer worked, and it gave me confidence. But I still felt unaccomplished and still complacent. Through a conversation with my oldest brother, he said, "Why don't you try to be a barber?" The idea got me curious. So I went to cosmetology school. Becoming a hairstylist gave me more confidence than ever before. But the first 2 years were so difficult. I would go weeks without clients. One day I sat with my parents and opened up to them about it. They suggested maybe it was time for me to go back to the plywood mill. Or maybe work at Magic Cuts. Like, Magic Cuts? I got so pissed off, I picked up the plate and I yelled at them and said, "I don't need this shit. I'm worth what I charge. I'm not gonna go backwards. I need support, not this shit," and I stormed off. My parents lost hope in me. And that made me work harder than ever before. Why? You're probably asking is, well, because I had to stop complaining, right? Because if I continued complaining, I'd have to change my careers. And I wasn't ready for that. So I focused on building my clientele. And when I built up my clientele, I got to a point of frustration. I was sick of working 2 jobs. And I was sick of being the salon bitch. I had enough. I wanted more for myself. We've all been there, all right? I wanted more for myself. So I wrote 3 words on a sticky note. And I made myself accountable for my very first time in my life. I became confident in what I was doing and what I had to offer. As I built up my clientele, I realized it was time to move on, and I moved to another salon to become an independent stylist. This made me realize that I created a business. It gave me strength and confidence. And it made me curious about what other challenges were ahead of me. And on June 2012, I opened Workshop Salon, my very first salon, my only salon. Just to clarify. My landlord saw everything I was doing, and he was impressed. He gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to become my own landlord. And with my family's support, on June 2013, I did it. But with all these opportunities that came to me, both in life and in business, I quickly became overwhelmed. Despite the success of the salon, I became resentful towards my own business and my vision. I got to a point that I needed to face my insecurities and become a student again. So I went to Santa Monica for education, but mostly for myself. Let's be honest, Santa Monica. I rode 4 kilometers to school every day. With the ocean smell in the air, the clear blue skies, and all the beautiful people. Made me feel pretty good. I was surrounded by passionate and driven educators. And they reminded me of why I do this and why I created Workshop Salon in the first place. See, When I moved out of my parents' house, I threw out that sticky note, thinking I did it. But all I did was become complacent again. And I couldn't let that happen to me. Growing up, I struggled in school. And once I found my craft, I found my passion for my craft, I became addicted to education. And being able to travel around the world for education inspired me to keep challenging myself more and more. Being able to be taught by such amazing artists inspired me to do more. I created educationlab.co to help empower people to discover and connect and learn from specialized educators and mentors in hopes that they'll be empowered and be in control of their future like I was with mine. Through my journey of being a doer, I have become confident in my insecurities. I've come to realize that my learning disability is actually my blessing. And if I didn't have the challenges as that little boy, I would have never become an entrepreneur. Imagine you're 16. Your dad wakes you up. He takes you to your first job. It teaches you hard work. Imagine you're 20 and curious. You build your clientele. You create your business. You own your business. Now, you're 34, and your business empowers people. Thank you. Thank you.
Another big round for Franco. That was fantastic. All right, I guess this time we'll try with the mics. We'll maybe get this right once. Any questions for Franco?
How do you feel?
Fantastic.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, I feel pretty amazing. My booth over there has a lot of candy, so feel free to come by. I'll share some more excitement and knowledge.
That's what I've been lacking today. is
Yeah,
the
I
sweets.
told you.
I haven't had the sugar yet.
I offered
Okay,
you.
I will later.
There's a question in the back. Yes.
I was wondering if you're too young to be searching for balance in your life.
I think you're never too young for balance. The key to my success is balance, to be honest. When I first got into my career, I was really unbalanced. And my career really helped me focus on one aspect of my life. And then I kind of came to a crossroads because I was young. And being everybody knows hairstylists. We have egos and we have confidence, and they're totally separate. And my ego and my confidence were really at par. And without finding balance, I probably would have gone down the wrong path. So I really strongly believe that because I had balance both in my professional life and my personal life at a young age with my wife that's here today, I think that balance really helped me, because I always say, like, my focus on my business is because my wife was in my life at a young age, or a young part of my career. I was like 3 years into the industry and I met her, and we've been together for 10 years now. And that balance allowed me to focus, and she allowed me to focus on me. And I think that was the biggest part of my balance through life, and my family support, of course. But yeah, balance is key. I don't think you can never be too young for balance. Thank you for the question. Any more questions? Yeah, Roger.
Hey, Franco. You mentioned that second phase of complacency.
Yes.
Can you walk us through kind of what you did at that stage? Because I do know a lot of people here have, kind of, myself personally, kind of get to a certain point where things, you kind of had these goals, and you finally get them, and then it's like, now what? So can you walk us through kind of that next phase?
Thank you for the great question. Yeah, I stopped challenging myself was the first thing. Because I was so focused on my salon and getting it to a certain point and making sure that I could pay my mortgage. Because, you take on, that was a whole different business. I went from opening a salon to creating 2 businesses out of one. And so I really spread myself thin. And I stopped challenging myself with learning. So the one course that I really took that helped me was actually understanding my losses. So I took an industry course that showed me the true numbers, the rawness of it. And that really threw me off. It put me in a pretty deep space of depression. I won't lie, my first time ever in my life, I was somewhat depressed. And like I said, I was overcome with being overwhelmed because in both life and in business, I opened up the salon, I bought the space, I moved out of my parents' house, I got a dog, I got engaged to my beautiful wife, we were planning our wedding. It was just so many things, but I didn't even take the time to actually allow my business to catch up to me. I just went this way when my business was going that way. And the resentment was because, you always add some people in your business that might not fit, but you do because of the necessity of them. Everybody understands that, I'm sure. For me, it was that, but also just me not, again, holding myself accountable for what I had to offer and thinking that I did it was the biggest thing. I want to ask you guys, what does a doer mean to you? I ask this because I think people misunderstand a situation of being a doer. And I'm sorry to go off script here, but I have a minute. I want to just say this. If you own your position in your job, you are an owner of your business. Because you can create a job out of your business, or you can create a business out of your job if you own it. So if you are the doer and everybody has it in them, and if you just do, somebody else will notice. I use this example. If you have 2 janitors standing side by side, and one janitor is moping around just doing a half-assed job, and this other guy is cleaning every cranny and just cleaning top to bottom, and you're a business owner and you walk by those 2 people, and you need a go-getter, and you need somebody to fill this one spot that not too many people want to fill. Let me ask you this. Who would you hire? Thank you.